What's going on, everyone? Half Chrome here with the Drone Buzz. We'll catch you in 2 minutes. Good stuff tonight. Stay tuned. What's going on, everyone? We've got an interesting show. Let's take a look at what we're doing here. A few different things. We are going to get to our question from last week, but let me just share with you what our plan here is. We got a couple of things. We're going to do our giveaway right off the bat, right? So if you are one of our patrons and you're entered into our Patreon giveaway, now is your chance. We're giving away this guy. This is the SJRC F11 folding drone. It's very similar to one Chris is putting through the paces of the Roku F11. Is that right, Chris?
That's the one. So I'll have a review of that up in a couple weeks, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, both these drones are entry-level GPS drones, right? Yep.
So we're going to do that. Then we're going to talk about how do you register your drone. We'll walk you through the process. We've got a law student studying drone law. She's coming on. She's going to share some insight, and then we'll talk about our next stream. So let's pull a name out of the hat.
How many names are there now in that hat?
I think there's like 6 or 7. So odds are still pretty good if you want to be a patron. Looks like Douglas T is our winner today, so I will contact him. So congrats to Douglas. He's getting another drone. So coming his way. It's pretty awesome. So let's kick it back to you, Chris. Why don't you tell us how do we, people were asking, how do we register a drone? There was some misinformation there.
Yeah.
Go for it. Tell us how to do. How does it work?
So I don't know, you can jump over to the next slide, but it's kind of funny. So if you guys have ever registered your drone, I mean, I hope you have, you should have, but we just became obvious in our last live stream that a lot of people never have. So we're just going to run you through it real quick here. Let's see, how do we get that up there? All right, there we are. So first of all, make sure you have the right website. There are some con artists out there who want to steal $5 from you. So the link is right there, or at least the URL, FAA Drone Zone, FAA.gov. And then you have to decide, are you registering as a Part 107 pilot or as a hobbyist? And we've actually done both here. So I'm going to walk you through first as a Part 107 pilot. If you're not, you should consider becoming one. I mean, you do get more rights, more freedoms in doing it. Technically, there's more places you can fly. You're limited by airspace instead of just, where the nearest helipad or, crop airfield is. So So anyway, we're going to walk you through that first. So let's take a look. What's happens here when you click on that next link there.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so obviously you can create an account or log in if you have one already. I accidentally bumped into this page. We already had an account. So, all right, where do we head next? So once you're logged in, you know, I'm not going to show you my email and password. You go ahead and get in there. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. So you can see as a Part 107, you have a dashboard where you can add users and you can add drones. And this is kind of nice for Jack and I, right? Because we share a lot of drones. We're now both Part 107 pilots. And so it said we have one pilot there, but I just actually clicked on that manage users recently and invited Jack to be an administrator as well. So you can have multiple users, or if you're running a business, you know, many users. And then there comes to our drones, and we've got some pretty funny ones. You can see probably our first big drone on that list. Good Boy Scout there in 2019, registered a SEMA X8W shortly after a Phantom 3 Standard, right?
Yeah, that's a great drone, that SEMA X8W, right?
Yeah, I finally
Crashed the heck
tossed
out of
it.
that thing.
Yeah, we finally tossed it. That thing had too many bullet holes in it. But you know, so anyway, so okay, we got to add a drone. So up there, top right, add UAS. That's what the FAA calls a drone for unknown reasons. Unmanned aerial system. Okay, so here you go. So is it purchased, home built? Okay, purchased. You enter the manufacturer, serial number, and here's the thing. If it's obviously home built or if it's a racing drone, you're going to click serial number not applicable probably if it doesn't have a serial number. In this case, the model is Mavic 2 Zoom, so I typed that in there. The serial number on, you know, DJI drones, for example, there's 3 places actually. Here on the arm, you can see it here in the battery case. There's another one, and on the box. So for whatever reason, they really don't want you to lose that serial number, I guess. So there, that's where you find it. You should be able to find it pretty easily. One thing to be aware of is some DJI drones have 2 serial numbers, one associated with the gimbal. So just be careful where you pull it from. All right, next up, pretty simple. There you go. I mean, you got to check out now. So I'm not going to show you all the steps there. One more point, if we go to the next one, you know, you do kind of check this box to say, you know, the rules, you know, you're Part 107, blah, blah, blah. You understand the requirements. So you click next, you know, you pay. And after you get the confirmation, you know, you have this little note here reminding you to label your drone. So if you don't have a label maker, I picked up some white electrical tape actually and stuck, I think we got a picture up here. Yeah, stuck it on right there and then put some clear tape over that so it doesn't, the Sharpie doesn't rub off. So I just put it on the same arm. It used to be you could label it inside the body of the drone, like in, you know, underneath the battery, which was kind of nice. Now they make you put it on the outside, you know, for reasons, who knows. But anyway, that's the deal. So Jack, what do you do a little differently if you're going as a hobbyist? Because you wanted to register a drone you don't plan on doing business with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So this, Chris just walked you through the process if you plan to fly commercially. But, you know, a lot of us, we just want to fly for fun. And if it's over 250 grams, you got to register it. So again, you know, it looks very similar, you know, the process, you know, it's those 4 steps. But as soon as you log in as a hobbyist, you get some rules and some things to know, you know, register your drone, fly at or below 400 feet. I'm not going to read these all to you, but just some important things that you're going to want to know as a pilot, right? And then as we go on, this is where it gets a little bit different, right? So we pay and it's $5, but it's not $5 per drone. It's $5, right? And then you can register as many drones as you want for that $5. So that's kind of where the big difference is here. It's $5 for all your drones rather than $5 for each one, right? And this is just for hobbyists. That's kind of the big difference here. So then, you know, you get your number and you put it on your drone, right? So you get I got another example. So I just took a piece of tape here, piece of masking tape. I wrote the number on, and then I took a piece of clear packing tape and threw that on top, so that, you know, if it didn't kind of rub off, if it got a little bit wet from, you know, landing in dew, then I can then put it on there. This is an FPV drone. This is my DJI FPV quad that I put it on. So that's really the process. It's pretty simple. It's pretty painless. It's pretty easy, and it's going to cost you, you know, $5. So
or $5 per drone.
$5 per
you know,
drone. Yeah, it kind of depends on who you are and you know, your purpose for flying, right?
Yep, definitely nice being a hobbyist. And so, so we have a question there. So hobbyists don't have to register the drone, right? You're basically registering yourself as a hobbyist. And commercial flight, just to remind you, is any flight where when you take off the drone, you intend to make money with that flight. So even if you're publishing it if you have a paid YouTube channel, obviously if you're selling the footage, that'd be a commercial flight according to the FAA. But as long as when you plan on, when you do that flight, it's not intended for making money, yeah, you're a hobbyist.
This is a great comment. I guess the FAA is not trying to beat down the national debt with $5. That's right, right? It's not a scheme to make money. It, you know, the goal here is hopefully to make things a little bit safer, to kind of have some, you know, some accountability, right? It's not huge, but you know, there's something there. So yeah, $5 not gonna make or break the bank. So we've got some people in the chat here. RC Funds Diversions. If I remember, you won a drone from us once upon a time, right? Was it gosh, like a HD Whoop of some kind? Is that right? Try to remember. Either way, you know, I think I'm pretty sure RC Fun. If you do remember, did you win a drone? Am I wrong here?
Well, they have, you know, he or she says they have a problem getting back to the dashboard without putting in the drone info. So, I mean, you won't put in the drone info if you're going in as a hobbyist. And yeah, I don't know exactly. I mean, Jack and I both did it. He did it as a hobbyist and had no issues, right, Jack? I had no issues, although I haven't registered a new account in quite some time.
It was not a process. You know, I do a lot of troubleshooting at work, and the first thing that I always tell people is turn off your computer. The other thing is, you know, internet issues when things aren't loading right. Try to clear your history or clear your cache. A lot of times that is helpful. So, you know, maybe that's something that you could try. I was right. Mobula HD. He won an HD Mobula, a little tiny Cinewhoop. That thing was a lot of fun. I remember flying one out in the Ozarks. I may have put that into the lake. I don't know why. No, you know what? I didn't. I came close. So,
yeah. So if you're a hobbyist there, RC Fun, then no issues. You don't need to put in the drone information at all. You just use that personal number for all your drones, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we do have a guest. So we'll get to our guest here in a minute. She's not quite on yet. I'm just going to double check my email. But let's switch gears a little bit, Chris. You know, you've been, you know, for a long time, I've been kind of the FPV guy, and you've been kind of like the camera drone guy, right?
Yeah.
And, what have you been doing lately?
So yeah, a bunch of DJI stuff historically, and you know, camera comparisons, drone comparisons at the high end. Recently, been kind of slow in that area, right? So I've been flying these guys around my basement. So not only have you and I both upgraded our studios in the last several weeks, but it really motivated me to clean up the basement. You know, I've hung up gates and all kinds of things under tables, everything. So I'll get a video up there soon showing you guys kind of what I'm doing. But I've been flying a couple different drones, And Jack, you're actually gonna have to tell people what the heck these are. He just hands them to me and I fly them. It's pretty cool.
So that's the Mobula 6 that's been converted. That's a little tiny whoop, so it's got a couple of different parts. And then the other one, the DJI whoop, is the Thinking P16. So I do see our guest is here, and this is kind of a fun one for me. Let me just kind of tell you a little bit about our guest before I bring her on. She's a former student of mine. Once upon a time, she was one of my Spanish students, and now she's studying law. She's a third-year law student, and she's been studying drone law, actually. So she knows quite a bit, and we thought we'd bring her on to the stream. So, Mandee, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I was pretty pumped when I got an email from you, asking me questions about drones and telling me that you were studying that stuff. So, well, first, how did that come about? What piqued your interest in drones?
Yeah. So last year, my second year, I took criminal procedure, and my professor, he, in addition to being an attorney for like 50 years, he was also a Charleston police officer, and he told me that he was one of the people involved in trying to pass some drone-related laws in South Carolina. And then he also told me that he taught a drone class at the academy, at the police academy, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And at that time, I was looking for an idea. I needed to write an upper-level writing paper, which is like similar to a term paper. So I was asking him for ideas, and he was like, that's probably what I would recommend. I mean, it's something that's like pretty new. Not a lot of people know that there are regulations out. And there's also not a lot of regulations out. So like the FAA, obviously, kind of sets like the standard of what they want you to do. And then the states kind of come in and add to that and supplement it. And no one really knows about it. So that's pretty much how I got involved with it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Can I step back 1 second? How is Jack as a teacher? I think that's the most important thing.
I think a better question would be like, how was Mandee as a student? Because I was like not the greatest. I like showed up late pretty much every day. Like he'll tell you he saved my tardy slips, and he would like pin them to the board above the whiteboard. So
that sounds like a jerk thing to do, but there's a great story. There's a great ending to that story, right? So you were late. Why were you late?
Okay. So, I would get rides to school from a friend, and he was a year above me. So he had late start. And I think this would make sense that I had Spanish second hour, and so like we would drive to school, and I was always late because he had to be there an hour later than me. So I actually ended up marrying him.
So it all worked out. So I guess being late to Spanish class wasn't the end of the world, right?
Yes.
Very good. Well, tell Nick we say hello.
I will.
All right. So I found this picture, and I thought you'd get a kick out of it. So we did yearbook photos. This was 2 years ago, and I took the yearbook photo, and then Mr. Thornley, I don't know if you had him for math. He was the yearbook photo next to me. So I'm flying a drone, and I flew a drone into his yearbook photo. So they actually published this in the yearbook. So that was again,
that's amazing. I know I haven't been there in a while, but I saw the school like got all redone, and they like had a drone flying over and like kind of did like a tour. That was amazing.
Yep. Yeah. Odds are good that might have been me.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Nick, I'm busy. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
We are all good though, right? So
only good things.
We do have some questions, right? So you've been studying drone law, which is super cool, by the way. So, Chris, you want to take one of these questions? You got them pulled up. Why don't you lead it?
Yeah, so let me see. Let me get to the question there. I had one that's my favorite. Here's mine is, a big one comes up with airspace close to the ground, right? You specialize in privacy. And if I'm flying in my backyard, is it my airspace? What about the neighbor's backyard? is there a limit to where the FAA actually has jurisdiction, or is that a different question than privacy? I mean, I've heard some things like under the tree line, under the roof line, you know, you're not going to have a 747 flying through your backyard under the trees. So what are the rules regarding, you know, private property and really close to the ground?
Yeah, so it's like that's a really great question that I don't have like a straightforward answer to. It's pretty much grounded in property law, more so than, you know, like privacy or even the FAA. It kind of has its grounds in property. So one of the rights you have like as a property owner is the right to exclude people from your property. And most states have limited that right to exclude from the airspace to like a certain height. So like 400 or 500 feet or something like that. And that's typically something you find like in your state's zoning laws. And if like that wasn't something that you could find in like the zoning laws, there's likely or eventually going to be, you know, some litigation that's going to arise, and it's going to be settled like in the state court. And that's pretty much where you're going to find that. So unfortunately, I don't really have an answer. But I mean, I would like to think that, you know, my backyard airspace, you know, is my own. And I've even read stories about like neighbors flying drones over to their neighbors, over their neighbors' houses in their backyard. And I heard about this one guy who shot it down. Right. And I was a little extreme, but I mean, people value their privacy, and I wouldn't do the same thing, like shoot the drone down, but I would be concerned if there was a drone that was flying around my backyard. You never know if there's a camera on it. So definitely something to think about.
Yeah, in my neighborhood, I get text messages at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night from friends, and they say, "Hey, are you flying a drone in my backyard?" I'm like, why would I be flying a drone in your backyard at 10 o'clock at night? So somebody's creeping around the neighborhood. Right.
And that's I mean, that's, I don't even want to think about it. I mean, that's
yeah. I mean, I don't have a shade in my bathroom window. So if somebody really wants to see that, I suppose they can. But you know, so do we have any like test cases where it's gone to court that you're aware of, and like big cases where somebody was flying? Because I know there, like you mentioned, there's been a couple people who've shot at drones over their property. You know, but obviously I'm flying over people's property all the time at heights under 400 feet, but well above their, you know, their houses as well. Mm-hmm. So do you have any guidance for our viewers on that?
You know, that I'm sure there's probably a handful of like state court cases that I'm not familiar with, that may have come up. I would just kind of say, you know who your neighbors are, right? I mean, they know you. Don't be flying it over people who, you know, you don't know, or maybe you don't have a great relationship with. I mean, normally if you just let people know, hey, like I'm flying this thing for fun, or I'm flying it for whatever reason, and I'm going to fly it like at this time or these times of the day, like just kind of give them a heads up. But yeah, I'm not really familiar with any state court cases like that. I did a little bit of research on one when I did my paper, but it was more of a federal preemption issue. So it was kind of, it was like a state that had a statute that conflicted with what the FAA said. But I haven't really done a lot with individual state court cases like that as it relates to privacy. But I'm sure there's a bunch that are coming and that are already, you know, in the system.
So right. Question on that. So when the state conflicts with the FAA, what happens there, right?
So the FAA is like always going to win. I mean, that's pretty much the answer to that question. So they're kind of like, you know, up here, like they're going to tell you what they want you to do. And then the states, you know, they come in with, I guess it's kind of like a supplemental laws or rules, whatever they want to do. So the FAA has, you know, the general jurisdiction and the right to regulate the airspace as a whole, but they leave the regulation for certain things up to like the state and local authorities. So things like privacy, zoning, land use, law enforcement activities, all that stuff is left up to the states to decide how to deal with. And there are a lot of states that don't touch on that at all, that don't have any laws on, can you attach a camera to your drone? Can you fly over people's houses? I mean, there's what I've seen a lot of, I think is really common for states to do is they'll have statutes and, like city ordinances saying, don't fly over our correctional facilities, don't fly over our state parks, don't interfere with wildlife. But not a lot of them have like privacy related things, like don't fly over your neighbor's house or don't put a camera and record without people's permission. So that stuff is all the stuff that's like up in the air. Like no one really knows until something bad happens and then they're going to fix it type thing. So
are there any laws that have kind of, whether it's federal laws, let's go with that, right? Because FAA, they kind of deal with privacy in drones and what you can or cannot record. Do those laws exist yet?
I would go and say no. When the FAA was, working to integrate the drones into the airspace, their main goal was safety. They wanted to make sure everyone was following what they were supposed to be doing. They weren't interfering with, the airports or anything else that was in the air that, they just didn't want any of that. So their main goal, and they made it really clear, was safety. They didn't touch on privacy at all. And I assume it was intentional because they probably know that that's something that they want to delegate to the states to figure out how to do. Unfortunately, I think it's just taking a little bit longer for the states to kind of pick up on the technology that these drones have. Like you can put cameras and you can record and, it's just a little slow on the legislation end. So
I think when it gets to I'm going to try to sound like a lawyer here, but when it gets to photographing people from the street or whatever, and you have your windows open, I think, isn't the term at a federal level, you have to have a reasonable expectation of privacy?
Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, when I wrote my paper on drones as they relate to the Fourth Amendment, so I talked a lot, obviously, about government use of drones, and that's pretty much the standard is reasonable expectation of privacy. And it's a two-pronged test. It's objective and subjective. Would a reasonable person think they had that expectation, and did the person actually have that expectation? So, I mean, if your windows are open and people can see you from the street, it's pretty clear that you don't care. You didn't want that expectation, or you would have shut your blinds, stuff like that. So you will see a lot of state state statutes that will kind of mirror that language. That's you can't interfere with someone's reasonable expectation of privacy, even though you really don't know what that means until it happens. So
yeah,
right.
If I remember when I was reading your paper, I think there was another again, one of the cases was somebody built a really tall fence, right? So they had that expectation of privacy, which was then violated by the drone. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that case was pretty sad. I mean, this person had everything set up. They had, privacy fence. It was a bunch of shrubs, and it was clear that they wanted this expectation of privacy. And I think it was a panel in the roof that was broken. And if the law enforcement drone or it was a drone, it wasn't a drone, it was a plane or something like that, maybe a helicopter. If they could see it from the air, then obviously they didn't have that reasonable expectation of privacy, or they would have fixed it. It's a stretch, I mean, they had all this other stuff, and the court found, okay, even though you did all that, you still don't have it. So, I mean, that's the problem. But
yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, your paper. How long was that paper you wrote? That was a monster, huh? It
was a lot. Yeah, it was 16 pages, single space. So it was a lot. I think it was 6,000 words.
Yeah, it's good drone stuff. So, yeah. There aren't maybe, I read it. Chris, did I send that to you to read?
Yeah.
So, good stuff. Once you get published, we can throw it on the website and everyone can read all about drone privacy laws and information. But yeah, no, it is really an interesting thing, and I think there will be more and more cases. You said, the guy shooting the drone out of the sky because he wants privacy, and then of course, there's that whole, legal thing about shooting things with guns, that's a whole nother set of
Yep.
laws that you're getting into. But yeah, privacy and drones, and now we've got remote ID.
Yep.
There's a lot of interesting things coming out in the drone law world right now. So that's interesting.
A lot going on for sure. And I see some things in the comments. I mean, I think what the moral of the story is that states and cities, they can pass laws and you will get in trouble according to those laws. And it's kind of like, are you willing to push it? Like you said, the FAA is going to win, but you have to be willing to take your case up and elevate it to the point where it goes to federal court, whatever, if you really want to fight it. It is kind of how I see it. And I think at the end of the day, from what I've learned, is that a lot of these cities and states, they kind of overstep, right? They pass laws that about airspace that they don't control because the FAA controls it. And then, but they're still going to arrest you. That's going to be your problem. And then you're, yeah, you can go fight it, but $50,000 later and a month in jail, is it worth it? So
Yeah, I mean, and I think the case we were talking about was I think the last aerial surveillance case that the United States Supreme Court decided. It was over 30 years ago. So, I mean, it wasn't even a drone, it was a helicopter. So I think we'll eventually maybe at one point get a case up there and we'll have precedent and we'll have something to go by. But until then, I think it's just going to be like an entirely huge gray area that we're all just going to kind of have to like figure out as it goes. So, yeah. And I mean, that's pretty much how the law is. So
yeah, the skies are the new Wild West. So we've got to write the laws and figure it all out, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Mandee, I appreciate you coming on. It's great to see you. It sounds like you're doing well. Keep studying that drone law stuff, and maybe we can get you on. If we get one of those cases, if something big comes on, we'd love to have you back and hear your thoughts. And again, great to see you. Best of luck, and we'll stay in touch.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thanks. You guys too.
Bye.
Bye. Wait, does she have a drone? I was going to ask her, does she have a drone yet?
We'll follow up. We'll find out. Either way, we got to get her one if she doesn't. So
yeah. So what are we talking about next? What we're doing next time?
Yeah, let's what are we doing? So our next show is going to be on the 28th, not 1/28. That's not right. Heck no. That already happened.
No. It's 1/19 right now.
Yeah. So let's go with 1/28. And I think that is right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, the 28th. I think, is that a Thursday? No. Hold on a second. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you are. 28th is next Thursday.
Okay, so I am right. All right, so we are gonna. Yes, let's shoot for the 28th of that. That's the Thursday, right? Yes. I don't know. My brain's all over the place, but we got 2 giveaways. We got another $100 gift card to Banggood. So they're gonna sponsor this next one, and I think they've got some fancy microphone. Karaoke sound system machine that we're going to give away, and hopefully we have one of those. Plus we'll have some discounts and coupon codes for some different things. I think some Whoops, the Mob Light. We should have one of those.
You got a sweet 3D printer the other day.
Yes, we did get a 3D printer. The Ender CR6 self-leveling bed. That's gonna be a good one. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I didn't have to put it together like I have had to with the other 3D printers. Chris, did you have to assemble the Prusa piece by piece?
Yeah, so just stepping back, if you are a drone hobbyist, you probably know the value of being able to make your own parts sometimes. And so I have a Prusa Mini. There was like a 6-month wait for that thing. So Prusa gets all these awards for their their printers. The Mini is their most affordable, smallest printer. I waited for it. It is really good. I have no issues with it. You can print all kinds of materials on it. But yeah, I had to do a fair amount of assembly. I'd say it's pretty simple, but also not super, super easy, but probably took an hour,
Yeah, so the Ender 3, so I have an Ender 3 Pro and an Ender 3 Pro version 2. They were both, about an hour, maybe a little bit more to assemble. The Ender 3 actually quit on me, the original. The Ender 3 version 2 is definitely a nicer printer. The issue I have is the filament, the tube that feeds it pops off fairly easily, right? And I actually had to JB weld it on there so that it didn't come off and ruin my prints in the middle. So I am curious to see how the CR6 see how that one works. The 32-bit board is nice. It's quiet on the V2, and also this one also has the 32-bit board. So that'll be cool. So yeah, some 3D printers. We've got some Whoop deals. So yeah, lots coming up. Oh, and stuff in the works. We've got that Roku F11 gimbal that Chris is flying. I should have both the Mob 6 Lite and the Mob 7 Lite. Both of those reviews will be coming out, plus some handful of other things.
Yeah. And if you're a frequent watcher of the channel, haven't subscribed yet, go ahead, subscribe. But you kind of know what Jack and I have. If you guys are thinking of a video you'd love to see, let us know what you want us to do something on, either a product we haven't reviewed yet or something about a drone that we already have or probably have. For example, I've been thinking about doing a video on how to fly drones inside. I had to do that a couple months ago. There's definitely a lot you want to get set up right before you do that. So anyway, any things like that, you guys let us know.
Yeah. And if you guys have questions for us, hit us up at drones@halfchrome.com. We'd love, we want to take a question from one of our viewers and answer it on our live stream, right? We try to do live streams twice a month, typically Tuesdays, although the next one, as you see here, will be on a Thursday. So if you have a question about drones, or you want to see something, or you want us to review a particular drone that you haven't seen on our channel, shoot us an email and we'll look into it. No promises, of course, but we like to fly stuff. So if you want to see us fly some stuff, let's do it. I just had a thought, Chris. You're doing some whoop flying. I'm doing some whoop flying. Maybe we should have we should do a race, an indoor race.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna race. I've got my basement mapped out in my head, so come on over here. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna dominate you at this point.
I've been hitting this guy pretty hard. This is the Meteor 65. Actually, this was earlier today. I crashed. I lost 2 props in one crash.
They're gone?
Well, I was able to locate one, but when the props keep falling off, you might as well grab some new props.
Yeah. All right. That it for today?
Yeah, that was fun.
So good giveaways for next
comments
week.
that maybe we need to talk about. Let's see, people like that are 3. We're not giving away the F411 4K Pro. We're going to review it. We may give it away. Actually, if we do give it away, we're going to give it to one of our Patreons, like we just gave this away, right? So our Patrons, they get a drone a month, right? So it's right now like a 1 in 7 chance, which is
so this is actually this is our F11 gimbal.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. Are we talking about something different here?
That's my drone and your drone. This one's, I think they're related drones. They're similar. There's no gimbal on this one. No electronic image stabilization. Just not a whole lot going on here. It's a decent drone. I think it's $150 or so, or at least it was once upon a time. But yeah, I mean, drones keep getting better, and that's great for everybody, right?
Yeah, if I would definitely show up to the live streams just for the opportunity to win those coupon or the gift certificate, basically, right?
$100, you can buy what you want.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Goodness, we're just giving stuff away left and right.
I kind of want to enter.
$100 is $100, right?
Yep.
I think Banggood would be upset if I gave it to you.
Probably.
Yeah, well, guess we'll have to give it to somebody watching. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This was fun. And boom, Sleepy Keys. Great question, actually, Sleepy Keys.
That's on Sony.
Yeah, thanks by the way for the super chat. That's awesome. Always appreciated. But thoughts of Sony entering the drone race. Actually, that's really interesting because Chris and I we're both using Sony cameras right now, and the Sony drone is going to carry an A camera, right, an A series or Alpha series camera, which is pretty neat. So it's interesting that Sony they didn't enter the market with a Phantom or a Mavic competitor. They went right to the top, right? So the Sony, I forget what it's called off the top of my head, Air Peak, is basically like an Inspire or a Matrice, and it's going to carry a big, real, expensive camera, and it looks to me, I've only seen videos. It does look to me like it's pretty well built. Obstacle avoidance, dual batteries.
Do you check out what's the flight time? Does anybody know the flight time on that thing?
It's a good question, but yeah, I think it's probably typical Sony. They start the high end, and I think if they have success, they may push out a consumer level drone, especially with DJI landed on the entity list, and President Trump did another something today where he limited the ability of I think it's federal agencies to own or operate Chinese drones, pretty much aimed at DJI. So it kind of opens the door for someone else in that space to take advantage, right? So
yeah, I mean,
Sony.
You talk about like if you want to get a full frame camera. I mean, obviously there's the huge rigs out there, super custom stuff. But yeah, you got the Matrice, you got Inspire, but then you're kind of stuck with at this point, the Inspire 2 with the DJI lens lineup, all that stuff. And it seemed like they were kind of in partnership with DJI, and I don't know if this is going to sour their relationship at all. But yeah, certainly I could see the appeal for photographers, videographers to want to get their Sony full frame camera up in the air as opposed to relying on a camera system that they're not familiar with. The question I have, the viability is, they're used to having all those options in the palm of their hand, and how easy is it going to be to use that setup? Is it going to fly as well as other drones? That's one thing. But how easy is it going to be to access all those camera options? So that's going to be a key feature, I think, in those, but certainly having zoom capability, having, shutter, aperture, all that stuff, is going to be pretty key. So that's pretty cool. We'll see what happens. We'll see if it ends up taking off, so to speak.
Yes. Pun intended. Yeah, it is nice to see Sony entering the drone space, and we'll see, how far they take it and, where they go.
Competition is an important thing. We've commented recently. The lack of competition is affecting the quality of the product that we are getting at this point. There's no doubt about it. I think it's not really affecting the price. I think there's plenty, reasonable price pressure, but the number of withheld features we're getting on drones at this point is definitely affected by a lack of competition. So whatever price point we're at, more competition is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, for those of us that didn't, you know, if you didn't read into Chris's comment, if you watched any of our videos on, listen, the Mavic Air 2 and the Mini 2 both could have more features that they just don't, because they don't have to, right? So why give the Mini 2 follow me when, you know, if you really want follow me, then you spend, you know, $800, you buy the Mavic Air 2. But, you know, a little more competition into the space, and you'll get more for less.
Just to give you a little teaser, this drone here, $200. It says it has 3 features that we might not see on certain other drones. So it has follow me, as Jack just referred to. This has point of interest, which is a GPS circle mode. That's been on drones for like a decade, and it's being withheld on some pretty popular low-cost drones out there. So it has that. And this actually has ADI mode. I haven't tried it yet. I have tried the other ones. But, you know, ADI mode hasn't been on a single Mavic, for example. And some pro pilots just love it, right? So being able to turn off GPS and just float around can get some smoother shots. And so you're seeing people try to move in with some really old and fundamental features that are being withheld, you know, so people want to have some reason to buy more expensive drones.
Yeah.
Single Life Dad loves ADI.
Who doesn't?
Yeah. If you're not used to it, it's frightening. Right? Like
I would love it for just, you know, you mentioned before, flying indoors, right? Just to be able to turn off GPS so that if something, you know, goofy happened, it didn't try to return home and fly into the roof or get stuck. Yeah.
So that's a key setting, is when lost signal, hover. That's one of the key indoor settings. But yeah, so when you're indoors and you have no GPS, you can turn off the vision sensing. And so you basically enter ADI mode at that point with that turned off. With it on, it flies as though it has GPS on indoor, basically, because you're close enough to the ground. But then you can't go higher than, like, was it 14 feet, you know, with this guy here, which was frustrating to me recently. So yeah, unlocking. One thing I'd love to see actually is an indoor setting. You know, what if there was a drone? I would love to say flying indoors. It brings you to a menu of options. Like, here's stuff you may want to think about setting. You know, for example, hover in place, or it has defaults and you're able to then switch back and forth easily. I think that would be an awesome thing, you know, to have there. An indoor flying, because there's so many things that have and could go wrong there, and you just want the ability to have a little more freedom, and again, not the risks like you talk about, either getting or losing GPS in the middle of a flight is not a good thing sometimes.
Nope. Yeah, for sure.
But COVID spraying in the stadiums, buddy, I don't know what that means. No, you have a cat for it. It's getting crazy here. Maybe we ought to sign off.
Yeah. Anyway, check us out on the 28th. That's a week and a half from now. We're giving away some stuff. We've got some codes for some other things, drones, electronics, fun stuff. So we will catch you guys later. Thanks for checking in.
See you guys.